Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace. As always, I am happy you clicked on today's video. We are working on fall Halloween projects, and y'all, super easy projects today, but in my opinion, think they're going to be some really quick sellers in my retail booth. I've had a few furniture pieces sell recently, so I have another furniture makeover in today's video as well. Once you have that empty hole in your booth, it just gives you so much motivation to get started on another project. So I was able to get quite a bit finished this week. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey, sweet friends, we're going to get started with a super easy, quick project. I picked up these white taper candles, and believe it or not, I left them in my truck after thrifting that day for a few hours. And when I came back out to get the things out of my truck, literally they were melting, and I could bend them into these shapes very easily without them breaking. But to get this look, all you have to do is soak them in really, really hot water and very carefully just kind of bend and shape them into some little ghost shapes. I just was able to skip that step by leaving it in my truck for a few hours. Like I said, super simple. All I'm going to do is take a Sharpie and draw on some little ghost eyeballs and a little open mouth. And I'm going to switch these up in directions and put them in a brass candlestick. Let me know what you think about these. Moving on, here I have a gold oval frame. I've had this in my stash for a little while. I believe I thrifted it from Salvation Army for like $1 or $2. We're going to remove that backer piece, get the screws out, and unfortunately this glass was broken. So I'm not going to be reusing it. You can see that chip right there at the top. So I'm going to just throw that away, and I probably wouldn't have reused it even if it won't broke, honestly. So now I have some Mod Podge here, and I have a Temu canvas print of a witch. Very neutral vibes. I really like this canvas, but we're just going to spread around a layer of Mod Podge at the top and really rub that down, make sure it adheres good, and then we're going to flip up the other side and do the same thing. Now, something I really wish I would have done, which I normally do, is take my brayer and really rub it over top of the canvas before coming in with this top coat of Mod Podge to seal everything up, because I did have a few air bubbles, and I really think that was why I did not use the brayer on top. But once everything is dry, I'm just going to flip it over and use a sharp X-Acto knife and cut off any excess canvas. I didn't have to go around this little detail right here to make sure this backer piece fits back into the frame. We're going to put everything back together, put those screws back in place to hold everything firm, and this project is done. Super easy. I just love those Temu canvas prints. Really good sellers in my area too. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. I'm going to price this artwork for maybe $33. I was inspired to recreate some vintage Halloween plush ornaments from a post I seen on Facebook this week. So I just head over to Etsy and I found these images on very, very cheap. Printed them on just a regular printer, and I did not seal over them or anything like that. I did size them to the size that I wanted my ornaments to be, but we're going to fussy cut around all of these, and I will link this Etsy shop in the description of this video. To get rid of the white around any of the paper, there wasn't much, but in the areas that there are, I'm going to take my IOD permanent black ink and just dab around any of those areas to kind of disguise it a little bit. I love this ghost pumpkin so much. Now, if I could redo this project over again, I would use drop cloth fabric. It's a lot more sturdier, but instead I used this muslin fabric I had in my stash. I have it folded on itself, and I have a piece of paper in between each layer. I'm going to use some Mod Podge on the back of our little printable, and then I'm just going to put it on the fabric. Then I'm going to take more Mod Podge and put it over the design and the fabric around the edges a little bit, because we are going to cut a little further away when we're cutting out the fabric. I'm going to put my hand in a plastic bag and just smooth out any wrinkles to make sure it's good and up there. Then I'm just going to move my piece of paper and keep on working down this strip of fabric. This went by very quick. I think all the projects in today's video were super quick and easy, and that's just what I needed. This has nothing to do with the current project or really anything to do with this video, but I've had several questions asking when I'm getting the IOD winter release products restocked back on my website. There's plenty still available over there, but a few of you were asking about specific products. Just know that restocks are on the way, and I'll let you know as soon as they arrive. Alrighty, so here they are, all dry. You can see that second layer of fabric there and what it's looking like. Roscoe, lay down, buddy. Lay down. But now we are going to start cutting these out. I am going to leave maybe about an 1/8 inch past the printable design, and it was very hard cutting both of these layers at the same time since the fabric wasn't sturdy. I really needed like some pins or something to pin both layers together, but unfortunately I didn't have any. I did use some safety pins later down the project, but nevertheless we're going to get these all cut out. I was able to find one little bobby pin, whatever they're called, in my stash. But now all of them are cut out. I have the bottom layer right here, and I'm going to take a piece of jute string and tie a knot, and this will be our hanger. I'm going to use some hot glue for this project, and I'm going to glue that hanging part down first, and then I'm just going to get that top layer positioned up there and very carefully go around the edges and get most of everything closed up, but make sure you leave a small little hole. I'm going to take just a itty bitty amount of polyfill and push in between these two layers, and then I'm going to finish sealing up that hole. And there you go, a little vintage Halloween ornament. So many people have been doing Halloween trees, and I just thought these were awesome. I love how it turned out. Let's move on to another one. I loved this cat. It was probably my second favorite of the design, with the ghost pumpkin being my first favorite. And I just love today's theme, quick and easy. These are done. Let me know what you think about these. I am just vibing with the vintage Halloween this year. Y'all let me know, what are y'all vibing with? Is it more autumn or more vintage Halloween inspired? Y'all let me know down in the comments. I'm going to price these for probably like $5 a piece. Our next project, I picked up this urn from a flea market a couple weeks ago because I had this idea in mind. I have some branches here that I'm going to be using, and before we get to the branches, I'm going to start shoving some floral foam down into our urn, a little on each side, and really just building it up along the edges. I used a few solid whole pieces too. But we're going to add some hot glue to that center hole in our urn, and I'm going to take my biggest tree limb and I'm going to put it in the hole, and it was like it was meant to be, y'all. This fit in the hole so perfectly. I'm just going to hold it in place for a second and let that glue fully dry. And of course, if I'm on the floor, near the floor, Roscoe's got to come get some loving, and I just love that. He is such a sweet baby. Once this is dry though, I'm going to grab another branch, and we're just going to use hot glue, make sure it goes in the floral foam nice, like make sure you get it as far down the floral foam as you can so it gives it as much support as possible. And I'm just going to go on the front side and then the back side with one of my other branches. I added 3 large branches to this piece. This part of the project, things kind of got a bit tough to record, I guess, because there's so much background distraction. But y'all hang tight and bear with me. Here is what we're looking like. Very whimsical, very kind of creepy vibes. I'm going to shove some Spanish moss down into this pot and kind of fill up any empty spots, but also cover up that floral foam. And then I ordered some crows off of Amazon, and it came in a pack of like 6, I think 6, I believe, and it even had the wings that you could add to the crows. But I liked these because it came with the wire on the feet, so I can very easily add some hot glue to the bottom of the crow's feet and then wrap the wire around the tree limb. And I think that is much better likely to stay than a clip or just the wire alone. Adding the hot glue for me with this project was a must because adding just the wire around the tree limb, the crow was wanting to like flop around. So glue and then wire it down. We're going to cover that wire in a later step right here in a second. I have more Spanish moss here, just a little piece, and I'm going to add some hot glue by the crow's feet and along the branch a little bit, and we're just going to drape some of this so it looks like a mossy tree out in the creek riverbank right now. Oh, I just love how that looks with all the moss coming down near the water, and I guess that's what this is inspired by. I'm going to drape a little bit of the moss over the urn too, just to give it another little detail, and then I'm going to continue on adding moss here, there, and everywhere on the branches. And that's it for this one. Love how it came out. It was a bit hard to get it to my booth because it's so large. I was scared it was going to fall apart with the wind and stuff, but it survived and it made it. I did put a tag on it that is for display only, but I did let the ladies know up front, if someone's really interested, give me a call. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. If I was to price it, it'd probably be around $70. Our last project is a hall tree. I picked this up for $75, but I got way more than just this piece. So I don't really know. I got like a truckload for $75. But this was the substantial piece in the haul, is what I'm trying to say. Goodness gracious. You can see the back needs some love. Like this piece is like composite board. So it was just really flaky and falling apart, so we definitely have to fix that. I'm going to unscrew the screws holding the support of the upper half of the haul tree. I just needed to unscrew those. This one screw, of course, was going to give me a hard time, made me get on my hands and knees. But eventually I was able to get all the screws out and pull that piece off, and then I just needed to remove the staples along the edges. Once I get all that cleaned up, I'm going to take my tape measure and just remeasure things so I could cut out a new backer piece. I'll transfer those measurements to a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. Then I will take a metal level or just a straight edge and just draw a lines connecting these cut lines just to make sure I know where I am cutting. Then I'm going to grab my saw and make sure my blade depth is at the appropriate depth. I do have a piece of wood under this plywood right now to jack it up off my workbench a little bit. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cut these out. It does not have to be perfect, just get it close. Then we're just going to reattach it the same way that other piece was attached. I'm going to use my nail gun, and I'm got a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver under the bottom of the piece of plywood just to raise it up off the floor a little bit and make sure it's nice up tight up towards the top. But now moving on to all the other nitty gritties, we need to remove the hooks. We're going to set them to the side. Of course, we're going to be reusing these, and I actually loved the patina that was already on the hooks. But now we start to sand. We're giving everything a scuff sand with a 120 grit sand grit, excuse me. Y'all, it's late and I'm struggling. But for the top piece, it was sanding off very easily, and I wanted to bring some wood elements to this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and sand that area back down to the raw wood. Quick Roscoe break. And back to work. I'm going to remove these very chunky, very dated little handles on the left and right side of the trunk area of our haul tree. I'm not going to be putting these back on. I was not a fan, really. But we're going to go ahead and scuff sand the rest of this piece. And whenever I got to that bottom trim piece, I'm going to go ahead and sand that back to raw wood too. And I decided to take off these little corbel pieces so I can sand them back to raw wood as well. So we'll have many different actual stained wood in our final design. I'm going to take off these two that I'm pointing at right down here and do the same thing. Now the piece has been cleaned and it's dry, and it's time to seal it back up. Just the areas I plan on painting is the areas I'm going to seal up with some paint on shellac. I'm going to do 2 good coats. I wanted this piece to be a warm white, so I grabbed out Antique Ironstone by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. This is the Bestoke brand, and it's just a very pretty warm white. Sometimes I do like to mix it with Flour Sack and Antique White together if I'm wanting a more whiter white, but not this go round. We're using straight Antique Ironstone. I did 4 or 5 scoops of powder with 4 or 5 scoops of water, and I mixed that together well. We're going to let it sit to the side and thicken for just a bit. And as it's doing its thing, I'm going to take my Sweet Pickins beeswax bar, and I'm going to hit some of the detail areas on this piece. The edges, anywhere there is line work, I'm going to get, because I want this piece to be distressed, rustic feels. And now we paint. I did mix my paint a little thinner than usual, so it did take 3 coats to get the coverage I was looking for. Now for the raw wood areas. I'm taking some DIY Dark and Decrepit. It's pretty much like a water-based stain, and I'm going to use it to stain the wood. I'm going to work in sections so I can wipe back the product to reveal that beautiful wood grain. I am really loving this product as a stain. I used it in last week's video too on the accordion rack, and I just love the color of this brown. We're going to do the base the same way, and don't forget about those corbels. Everything is dry, and I am seeing some chippy paint, which excites me. We're going to take a 220 grit sand grit on our orbital sander, and my orbital sander is turned down to the low setting, and we're going to sand over every surface. But be sure to get those areas back down to the wood that we applied the beeswax to. And I just love this look. We're going to do the whole piece this way. We're going to leave those stained areas alone though. I knew I wanted this piece to be extra durable, so it really needed a top coat. I plan on coming in with wax too. Y'all know me by now. I can't leave the agent wax alone, but I did go ahead and give it 2 coats of a top coat. Now we're going to add those corbels back in place with some Titebond Quick and Thick and just a couple nails to hold it as that glue dries, and I will wipe away any glue squeeze out. And we're almost at the finish line for this project. Some Fusion Agent Wax to bring out all the details. It's a must in my opinion. You can't even really see the crackle until you add the wax. So we're going to work in sections so it does not turn my paint finish too dark. But after adding that top coat, we really don't have to worry about that either way. Look at this area and then look at where I've applied the wax to. You can notice the crackle 100 times better. We're going to go ahead and do this on the entire piece, and then we're going to add our hooks back in place. And what a difference that paint made on this piece. I love how it came out. It fit into my booth beautifully, hanging a fall wreath on one of the hooks. Be sure to let me know what you think about this one. I priced it for $277. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. If you're in need of any milk paint, head over to the website, check things out. That is linked down in the description box. Let me know what you think about today's projects. Those Halloween makeovers got a little dark and moody, and I am here for it. Thank you for hanging out with me today, friends. I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.